Preparations for the timber sale planned at the Hartford Town Forest, which is planned to take place in the winter of 2021-2022, have begun. There are many goals of this timber sale. They include enhancing diversity, emulating old growth characteristics, increasing the health and vigor of the forest, increasing carbon storage and sequestration, enhancing and increasing available wildlife habitat, and capturing the value of declining trees. The bulk of the sale will take place in the northern part of the property, in the western parts of stands 4 and 5 as defined in the 2020 Forest Management Plan. This part of the forest is in an area of large and impressive superdominant white pine. These large trees are an important part of the forest. They are enhancing the structural diversity, increasing species diversity, and enhancing the available wildlife habitat. These pines are also storing a lot of carbon. These large and impressive white pine are the result of land use and forest management decisions. The town purchased the HTF in the 1890s. At that time, stands 4 and 5 were open fields. These fields regenerated to a forest sometime at the turn of the century. The first recorded logging that took place in stands 4 and 5 was in the 1950s. This sale was a thinning targeted at removing hardwood pulp and to clean up some areas of blowdown. The next time stands 4 and 5 were harvested was in the 80s. The treatment at that time was a shelterwood treatment. A shelterwood treatment is when the overstory trees are retained to shelter trees in the understory and to establish new trees in the understory. This shelterwood treatment is the last time stands 4 and 5 have been logged. Since the shelterwood treatments, some of the pine have begun to decline due to some forest health issues. The pathogens that are affecting these pines include white pine needlecast, a fungal pathogen, and rud rot, also a fungal pathogen. The trees being affected have weak, thin crowns, which is decreasing affected trees' growth and vigor. Decreased vigor can hamper a tree's response to stress and other pathogens. Low vigor can also lead to increases in tree decline and mortality, which is what is beginning to happen in some parts of stands 4 and 5. These stands do not only have white pine trees within them. There are many other different types of trees growing in these stands. They include red oak, red maple, paper birch, aspen, sugar maple, just to name a few. Many of these other trees have become established after the pine and are younger than the pine. The younger trees are competing for resources with one another and with the pine. To improve the growing conditions overall in these stands, the proposed timber sale will open the crowns of the healthiest pine to improve the air circulation. This will lessen the likelihood that these pines will become affected with white pine needlecast. The timber sale will also give the younger hardwood trees more growing space by removing competing trees. The thinning will take place in the northern part of the forest. The green area on this map shows where the timber sale will happen. The yellow dashed lines are the recreational trails that are in stands 4 and 5. For reference, the parking lot is circled in blue. This map will be updated as the sale continues to be laid out and marked. The sale area will roughly cover 50 acres of the Hartford Town Forest. The total size of the Hartford Town Forest, not including the wildlife refuge, is 423 acres. The timber sale will disrupt the use of some of the walking and mountain biking trails in the northern part of the property. During the timber sale, these trails will be closed. The trails that will be closed are the Stick Trail, Moose Brook Trail, Snowshoe Trail, Long Run, Three Bridges Trail, Thomas Track, Warm-Up Loop Start, Res Cutoff, and the W.B. Brown Trail. Others may also be affected as the sale continues to be laid out and marked. All other trails at the Hartford Town Forest will remain open during the logging. The trails will reopen once logging has finished. During the spring and summer, post-harvest, trails will be cleaned up or repaired as needed. There is an opportunity as part of this timber sale to increase the amount of young forests or early successional habitat at the Hartford Town Forest. Increasing the amount of young forests is recommended by both the Wildlife Assessment and the Vermont Audubon Assessment done in 2011. Both assessments recommended around 4 to 8 acres of perpetual early successional habitat. The central part of stand 5 is an area of mature aspen, birch, and red oak. Aspen quickly resprouts after being cut, which will create a thick clump of saplings. These clumps of saplings are exactly what wildlife is looking for in areas of early successional habitat. The oaks in these areas will be retained. They will provide structure and mass in the form of acorns. The size of the opening being proposed is 2 to 5 acres. The patches will be a mix of leaving established regeneration in place and removing everything down to 2 inches. Areas where everything will be cut down to 2 inches will be no bigger than 1 acre in size. The entire area cut will have mature mass-bearing trees retained throughout the overstory. Any area cut will mature and will not be suitable as a successional habitat for long. Roughly 15 to 20 years after a patch cut is established, it loses its wildlife benefits. In order to maintain early successional habitat, more areas of the HTF will have to be cut in this manner in the future. The patch cut has not been laid out yet, so the size and location have not been determined. It will be east of the lower reservoir. Once the location has been determined, a more in-depth video about the patch will be posted. I encourage all users of the Hartford Town Forest to become engaged with this process. Ask questions about the timber sale and the management of the Hartford Town Forest as a whole. As we progress with the timber sale, there will be opportunities for walks out in the woods before, during, and after the timber sale. Stay tuned for ways to engage with the management of the Hartford Town Forest.